Here's the irony. Across the country, we've got you stories of how time and again so-called Go Rakshaks continue to take the law in their hands. In part 1 of our Operation Go Rakshak, we had even exposed how some of these men actually work as extortionists, don't care a bit about saving or protecting cows. Now, here's a fresh episode that just exposes these Go Rakshaks for who they are. Exactly a fortnight after a man was beaten to death on the suspicion of being a cow smuggler in Rajasthan, in that very area, police actually intercepted a truck of cow smugglers who then proceeded to open fire at them. Why don't these genuine cases ever attract the attention of these fake cow lovers? This police jeep bears testimony to a fierce gun battle. Pockmarked by bullets of cow smugglers they intercepted in Khareli district of Alwar in Rajasthan. When they stopped a truck carrying smuggled cattle, the men inside rammed their vehicle into the police's jeep and then opened fire.
लोगों ने पुलिस की गाड़ी को देखकर पुलिस की गाड़ी को टक्कर मार के फायर किया और भगाने का प्रयास किया। जवाबी में पुलिस ने भी फायर किए उनके ऊपर 2-3 राउंड एसएलआर से और उनका पीछा किया हमारे जवानों ने। पीछा करने में वो लोग कुछ दूर भगाते रहे, ग्रेवल सड़क के ऊपर उतार दिया उन लोगों ने।
The police subsequently released 60 cows from these smugglers' clutches and have arrested 4 men while 6 more are being interrogated. The irony is that while self-appointed fake Go Rakshaks are busy lynching people in the name of cow protection, such smuggling remains rampant. In fact, those genuinely engaged in stopping this trade often face murderous attacks themselves. In August 2016, animal rights activists were beaten up in Bengaluru. A handful versus a mob of 200. All because they stopped a truck ferrying cows. And in the same city, activists Joshin Anthony and Kavita Jain were left bloodied. The same story was witnessed in Haryana. Animal activists shot at by meat mafia at point-blank range. In Patna, a 60-year-old woman was roughed up outside the High Court because she is leading a legal battle against the smuggling of animals at the India-Bangladesh border. The real animal lovers are risking their lives for cow protection, while some, under the garb of Go Raksha, are running a lucrative business of extortion or indulging in wanton violence. Bureau Report, India Today. All right, joining us now on 8 p.m. is Nikita Anand. She's an animal rights activist and someone who has worked for long and passionately about the protection of the cow. And you've got Shahzad Poonawala. He's a petitioner in a case where he's filed a PIL asking for a blanket ban on all Go Rakshaks. But Nikita, I want to start with you. What do you make of these people of the kind that we had seen in Ajmer, where they attacked men only on the suspicion of cattle smuggling? And 2 weeks later, you have an actual case of cattle smuggling taking place. And they're missing. They're missing in action.
Well, precisely my point, Padmaja, when you talk about Go Raksha, there are certain people who in the name of Go Raksha, who are masquerading as Go Rakshaks. Who are they? On what basis are they calling themselves Go Rakshaks? Are they feeding cows? Are they supporting Gaushalas? What exactly are they doing? When you talk about a Go Rakshak, there is a very simple trait, and I'd like to elaborate on that. A Go Rakshak does what he or she does because they feel, they are sensitive and they are emotional people, and they will never indulge in any violent activity. They will never kill a human being. And just to quote you from history as well, Ram, Krishna, Maharana Pratap, Shivaji, they were all Go Rakshaks. Our freedom fighters were all Rakshaks. Also, also tell you about 1857, if you remember, the first war of independence. The spark was that of Go Raksha. So yes, it is understandable that there are certain people where emotions are attached to this issue. They react, but they're not Go Rakshaks.
Okay, Shahzad,
would you say
it's like saying, I'll give you a similar example. It's like saying when you've asked for a blanket ban on all Go Rakshaks. Do you think it's same to paint People like Nikita and the kind that we saw in Alwar with the same brush?
Well, I'm not on the same page as far as Nikita's sense of history is concerned, but leave that apart. I would definitely say that my petition is only concerned with Article 21, which enshrines the rule of law in this country, which means, Padmaja, simply this, that whether it's an animal activist or a Go Rakshak, as long as he's abiding the law, that's fine. But if they take the law into their own hands and think that they can stop vehicles, they can beat up people, or they can, espouse to themselves powers meant for the police, then I'm against even those who call themselves animal activists. And I have actually proof of certain animal activists, I'm not talking about Nikita, who use this thing to extort money from cattle traders. In fact, the Cattle Traders Association from Ghazipur just met me 3-4 days ago, and they've given me proof with FIRs, etc. Be that as it may, what is this Go Raksha thing? First of all, let us understand that cow protection, as far as that is concerned, the census that I have of the Government of India, Ministry of Agriculture, actually shows that the cow population has gone up from 2007 to 2012 by 6.52%. So clearly there is no great threat to the cow as such. It's not that they're getting wiped out or something of that sort. As far as cow slaughter, cow smuggling is concerned,
there isn't, because again and again we see, and I think Nikita will bear me out on this, there are repeated cases, especially at the India-Bangladesh border, in Mewat, for example, in Rajasthan as well, where there is cattle which is pushed in the direction of Bangladesh. So it's not as if it's a non-existent issue.
Absolutely, it's not a non-existent issue, but you have to understand, why does smuggling happen? Smuggling happens because when we have cow slaughter laws across the country. Now these laws say that you cannot sell it, you cannot slaughter it. What does the farmer, one second Nikita, what does the farmer do once the cow becomes unproductive? He has no option.
Slaughter laws
but one
are
second
not
Nikita,
being
just
followed.
1 second. There's a lacuna in the law because it does not provide the farmer, it does not mandate the state to provide the farmer some compensation for an unproductive cow. So it starts with the farmer selling off his cow to somebody to earn 5, 6,000, 10,000 rupees.
If it's against the law, it's against the law.
Of course it is against the law. But you have to also understand that if we don't give the farmer a reason to sell the cow, there will not be any illegal cow
that's like an argument that we majburi mein law break kar di, Nikita.
No, then you explain that to the farmers. I'm happy for you to explain it to the farmers. They are already in debt.
No. See, all this does not make sense. First of all, I'll tell you one very simple thing. When we talk about animal rights, when we talk about saving bovines and not just bovines, whether it is camels, it's dogs, it's monkeys, the law needs to be followed. The problem is that wherever our activists are, and I speak on behalf of the entire Dhyan Foundation, wherever our activists are, and they are working within the legal framework of the country. Right? They are trying to enforce the law which is already in place, but it is not being enforced. Slaughter rules are being flouted, transport rules are being flouted, prevention of cruelty towards animal, that is being flouted. Slaughter rules are being flouted.
But
you
Nikita, the argument that Shehzad is making is that even that doesn't give you the right to stop someone who you might suspect. Even if you're doing it peacefully, it doesn't give you the right to stop someone you suspect.
You can stop
someone.
No, hang on, Padmaja. One second. Every citizen has this right. Every citizen has this right. If you see a criminal activity happening, you can stop. I am not saying take the law in your hands.
Excuse me, Nikita, I think you should actually understand what is the situation in law. I can give you names also. There's certain people called Saurav Gupta and Gaurav Gupta in Mayur Vihar police station, and FIR has been filed because they were chanting this Gau Bacha, and they stopped buffaloes, and then they beat up the trader and the person taking the cattle, and they extorted money. So these are real cases. So I don't know how you speak in such a big way and you cover up everybody. There are cases of people even misusing the name of animal activism, just like it is in the case of Go Rakshaks.
I'm not covering up anything. I can give you a very accurate picture of what is happening.
I am also giving you cases. Mayur Vihar police station, you can go and remove the FIR of 2015 along with pictures of Saurav Gupta and Gaurav Gupta who are accused in that. These people are using animal activism. Anyways, I don't have a beef with you. I mean,
intercepting a truck which was carrying cows that were being trafficked. I'm sorry.
I have no issue with you as long as you do not resort to violence. My real issue is actually the Go Rakshaks, or actually the Farzi Go Rakshaks.
It's not a question of whether I have an issue with you or not. This is a question of what is happening on the ground and the ground reality.
Well, you don't have the right to stop anybody's vehicle, just for your information.
This is Amit Jain, who again, while trying to stop again cow smugglers,
you are not entitled to. You don't have that power to do that.
This again is a recent case in Panipat.
Why don't you take the police along?
Again, this is Kavita Jain. I'm sorry, these are activists who have been attacked. We do
but
take
you
the
should
police
take
along.
the police along. That is how law.
Do you know there have been so many instances where with the police, in fact, this is a case outside HAL in Bangalore. This was outside the police station where our activist and this lady activist, her modesty was at stake.
Nobody is justifying anything that is wrong, done wrong with anybody who's trying to enforce the law. I'm not trying to say.
I am not. It's not a question of who's justifying or not. What I'm simply saying is
you are picking a fight with me when I have none with you.
When you talk about animal rights, when you talk about Go Rakshaks, you need to know the ground reality first. Activists who are working within the framework of the law are being attacked. They are also being murdered. I also have. Oh, so you think you know everything and I don't? What sort of a logic is that? I have a list here of 1,000 FIRs. I can also count
you. Should also come to court.
You know, a list of Go Rakshak killings.
You should also come to court.
So what are you talking about?
Now, may I have a say, or will she?
Okay. Look, if I need to go to court, I will. If I need to go to court,
now listen to me, please, very carefully, Nikita. I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I completely have respect for what you guys are doing. All I'm saying is that if the police, my basic argument is that if the police does its job well in implementing the cow slaughter laws across the country, the cow smuggling and anti-cow trafficking, whatever laws are there in place across the country, there will not be a need for vigilantes in the garb of Go Rakshaks, and there will be no need for you to risk your life and safety in doing this. So what we need is not for citizens like you to be on the streets, patrolling the streets, but for the police to set up the required pickets, etc., to ensure that checking is done at suitable points. First point. Second point, let us distinguish between animal activists who may have a genuine concern for these animals and Go Rakshaks who are completely just using this for their own communal politics and are spreading terror in the name of Go Raksha. If they really cared about the cow, Padmaja, they would go and vandalize the BJP's office, because the BJP has a different stand in Northeast, it has a different stand in Goa, the Rajasthan government,
politics and the parties out of this,
because this is about cow sheds have seen starvation deaths of cows in Rajasthan.
Yes, so, which is why we don't want to keep it political. My basic question to you is, when you're asking for a blanket ban on Go Rakshaks, it also includes people who genuinely may be patrolling the streets. You say it is not okay. This is not something that they're allowed to do. So Nikita Anand, what forces you to do this? Because it is not allowed in law. And if you face resistance, then there is no one really you can blame, because you have adopted
people killing them also is not entitled. I mean, the smugglers killing them is or hurting them is not entitled. But what forces
you to actually go out on your own and patrol the streets when actually it's the police which should be doing that?
When we talk about activists, when we talk about activists, when we are talking about activists who of course are working within the framework of the law, and it is a risk to their lives, and who are standing at toll gates, who want to ensure that the law is being
followed,
it's being paid heed to. Now, if you have the police that is not doing their job, we will stand there. We are not going to be silent. We are not going to be mum, because I'll tell you why. A lot is at stake here. Our national security is at stake. This is a question of terrorism, because like you mentioned earlier, there is so much of cross-border terrorism that is happening. At the Dhyan Foundation, we've even saved camels who from right across the border,
no, but Nikita, the problem with that is then there is no way to discern who is a genuine animal lover and who is just some goon who's out to make a quick buck by terrorizing cattle traders.
Padmaja,
genuine legitimate legal cattle traders will never resort to, I'll tell you why, a genuine animal lover will never resort to violence. That's what genuine Go Rakshaks say about themselves.
You sound eerily similar to these Go Rakshaks, ma'am. I don't think most animal activists are like you, but if they are, I'm very, very, very scared.
I have never indulged in any violent activity, and they do not.
Saurav Gupta and Gaurav Gupta are being felicitated with an FIR, ma'am, in Mayur Vihar police station. Please go and see what they're up to.
Claim to be a Go Rakshak. You can't say every person who reacts is an animal rights activist. You see the work that they're doing. You see how many gaushalas they are supporting. You see how many dog shelters they have made. Why don't you see all this work?
I mean, apart from this rhetoric, there's something very concrete the Delhi High Court said.
These are animal rights activists.
Okay, good for you. Now, the Delhi High Court came up with a very novel solution. It told the police that, you know, instead of these vigilantes and self-side enthusiastic animal rights activists going around the streets, have mobile vehicles which can stop these cattle traders who are going in trucks, and they can immediately see if the cattle is not being kept properly. They can be challaned, and if they're not being, if there's something more, then they should be taken to the requisite place, because there's also a problem when you if you stop the vehicle and remove the cattle, many a times the police don't have place to take these cattle. So some of them are falling on the street, some of them are falling in the drain, they're not fed in those shelters where the police takes them. So it's more cruelty for the animal that way. So this was a novel solution, given the Delhi High Court's order is still there, but it's not been implemented.
So Nikita,
and secondly, we do not want animal rights activists or our Go Rakshak brothers and sisters taking the law into their own hands. That is actually the national security question. When the law and order is taken into hands by citizens thinking they have the right to, that's a national security concern, not about cows going across the border.
The law and order is not being enforced by certain
then you have to go to the courts. You can't go around.
Is that there are certain laws that need to be enforced. Very simple.
You got to go to the courts. You have to go to the High Court or the Supreme Court.
No one I know who is an animal lover or an animal rights activist is indulging in any violent activity, period.
No, but Nikita, that's what I'm...
Your subjective certificate to them is of no consequence, ma'am.
Those who are doing genuine
Your
work.
Subjective certificate has no value in the eyes of the law. If Article 21 rule of law is violated, your subjective certificate that all animal lovers are great human beings has no legal standing. Period. Lot of Go Rakshaks who have come on Padmaja's show have said कि हमारे जैसे गौ रक्षक किसी इंसान को जुल्म ही नहीं कर सकते. So this is the same argument you are making. It is hollow and shallow. What you need to do as an animal rights activist is inform the police, and if the police is not acting in a particular area, go to the courts and tell the courts that the police is not acting on your complaints. You can't be stopping vehicles. No Go Rakshak nor you can stop vehicles.
Yes, we go to the police, we go to the court as well. The courts have also helped us. In fact, I'd like to take this opportunity as well to yes, we do go to the court.
Then why
Just
do you
for
need to
your
be on the street?
I will give you an example of what is happening in Kishanganj. Since the past 4 months, there have been 61 camels that were caught. Now, you tell me, what were they doing outside of Rajasthan, 1700 kilometers in Kishanganj? They were simply being taken there. I
am not competent to answer why camels were 1700 kilometers away from where they should be. I am seriously not competent.
I know you're not competent, but at least be competent.
I am extremely sorry that my legal acumen doesn't extend to why camels have gone out of Rajasthan.
We are still fighting a legal battle. We are still fighting a legal battle in Kishanganj to make sure that the 46 who have survived, unfortunately,
tell me one thing. Just tell me one thing. Let me ask you a question.
Because it is not their natural habitat.
Let me ask you a question.
Again,
Nikita,
I keep repeating myself, working within the legal framework.
Okay, quickly ask your question.
My question is that do you not trust the courts of the country? Do you not trust the courts of our country?
I trust the police, I trust the court, which
then
is why we work with them. We do not work against them. I really wish that you can understand the words coming out of my mouth, Shahzad.
I am trying very hard, but the problem is you justify vigilantism by one way or the other. You may have a sophisticated version of what the Go Rakshaks say, but that doesn't make you less of a vigilante that you are. You're a closet vigilante, and some of them are open vigilantes. But that doesn't help my case, because you both are violating the law, and you both are violating my Article 21, which you're not entitled to, ma'am. I'm sorry, I can't help you why the camels are out of Rajasthan, but I can tell you that you're not entitled to go around stopping people's vehicles. That's not part of the law. That's not the power enshrined to Nikita Anand or her animal rights friends. This is not something you can do. You got to understand that.
Of course, we can intercept with the
Who said you can intercept somebody's vehicle? That is violations of IPC, right there. 3 or 4 violations of the IPC.
And also,
are you seriously telling me you can, any citizen can intercept anybody else's car?
And what do you think? Injuring an animal, letting an animal be... Are you aware of sections 428 and 429 of the Indian Penal Code as well?
Of which act?
These cow smugglers who take truck
Do those sections say that Nikita Anand and her friends can go around stopping people because somebody may or may not have done something?
So
you are not an arbiter of whether that crime has been committed. First, it has to be established that a crime has been committed, and the court will direct the police to do whatever it requires to be done. You are not the female version of 9 PM anchors who can go on the streets and start blocking vehicles
Okay,
now.
anyway, please let's not make this personal. But final word, Nikita Anand, and I just have the last 10 seconds. Don't you think that if there is an effective mechanism that you already have in place in taking care of rescued animals, why not just stick to that and work with the police and the courts to ensure that any illegal activity is prevented? Won't you then be doing a better service?
Padmaja, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. We do not support violence at all in any manner. We want the law to be enforced. We work with the police. We work with the courts. We do not go against them. If the laws are upheld, why will activists be attacked? They won't. We're working within the legal framework.
All right. And if the law needs to be upheld, then instead of trying to replace those who are supposed to uphold and enforce the law, we just have to resort to then going to court to make sure that that is done. And we certainly hope that happens. For the time being, thank you very much for joining us on 8 p.m. Shehzad Poonawala and Nikita Anand. Remember, this case is currently in court. The blanket ban on Go Rakshaks. We'll be following that very closely right here on India Today. For today, thanks for watching.